Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of Gameplay video, this time for the British Tier 5 tech tree cruiser, the HMS Hawkins. As always, these videos are designed to give you a sample of the gameplay of the ship, not to be an exhaustive analysis. I recommend the Wargaming Wiki or other content creators. Let's just take a minute and appreciate the art department here. This super cool camo cost me 100 doubloons, but I think it was totally worth it. So, one of the really great things about doing this series, I've mentioned it a couple times and I'm going to say it again because it's true for this game, is finding these hidden gems, ships that maybe I've never played or I played once early in my WoW's days and I didn't really know anything about. It's especially gratifying when they're tech tree ships because then I can unreservedly recommend them to you guys. This is going to be my second E badge in the entire channel, my second E in 2 days. This is going to be a really fun match. I'm going to have a lot of battle impact, some against bots, of course, but actually more than half against players. And yeah, I'm going to get an E, and we're going to get the victory. I actually really enjoyed the Hawkins. I mean, granted, it's hard to make conclusions about a ship after one game, but it's interesting because I really like the Wargaming Wiki. A lot of the posts there are written by a community contributor that I don't think is around anymore, named Little White Mouse. And she is usually incredibly sharp and right on. And this one, though, after the game, I went and looked at the wiki, and the wiki was really down on the Hawkins. And I was like, I don't know, man. It said it was slow and sluggish and the torpedoes were weak, and I have to say I didn't feel like that in this game. So the Hawkins is, I guess, I was about to say it's a little like the Omaha, except it's nothing like the Omaha. It would be like the Omaha if you changed everything about the Omaha. The first thing, and I did not study the armor in detail before the game, I admit, but after the game, I went and studied the armor because I'm going to get in this duel with this battleship late in the game. And I really feel like I should have exploded, and I didn't explode. And so after the game, I went looking at the armor, and it turns out the armor on this thing is really good, like really good for a tier 5 cruiser. It has 38 or 51 millimeter armor all the way up and around the bow at the waterline. There's only a narrow region at the front and at the back that's 16 millimeters. So if you're fighting against the Hawkins, you are not going to overmatch this thing, and you really would have to know exactly where to aim in order to get serious damage on it. And the guns are pretty good. I mean, the reload's not great. It's like 9.9 seconds, but you get 7 guns, and you can get up to 6 of them to fire at once. Now, to do that, you have to show a very uncomfortable amount of broadside. It seems to have much better angles kiting than it does going forward. So that's kind of a bummer. But still, I mean, they're 190 millimeter guns. The HE has really good alpha. It's 3050, which I think is really good for tier 5. Now, I mean, of course, this cruiser would suffer if it was up-tiered because that armor is going to stop being so effective. But, I mean, you saw me deal with that Omaha, and there's just not a lot he can do to me. This is danger mode here with the bots. People always underestimate the bots, and the one thing the bots are really, really deathly good at is using their torpedoes. So I'm potentially in big trouble here because this bot is just going to relentlessly close the range and then torp me if I'm not careful. So I have to make sure I get plenty of runway, back up enough that I get some forward moving space, and then try and time it, use my hydro, which I've got on, and immediately hit the gas. And just see if the acceleration of the Hawkins can get me out of the way of these torps. And then, of course, I need to torp him back. I don't know what they're talking about with the weak torps. I mean, yes, you only get 2 of them, and they only go 7 kilometers, but that's pretty standard at tier 5, and they have pretty enormous alpha. I think it's 19,000, and they're slow-ish, but, I mean, again, that's pretty standard at tier 5. I actually think the torps are super useful. And they're going to come in really handy later. Spoiler alert. But I'm already up to 49,000 damage. Now, of course, a good bit of that was torping that Svetlana, that bot. But, you know, another good solid chunk of that was taking care of that Omaha, which was a player. Anyway, this is a really fun game. I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of battle impact. It's a bit of a blowout, but it's also somewhat misleading because I think we took care of all their bots really fast. I'm gonna somehow miss the torpedoes on this bot. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Because he changed his course and speed, which is something that the bots don't typically do. If I remember right, I'm gonna miss the torpedoes here. Yeah, but I mean, you see, I'm like full penning that Wyoming with my HE. And I mean, I'm doing pretty good damage to him, you know? Like with 30-50 alpha, I mean, that was almost 2,000 damage. That's, you know, I'm not going to complain about that. Totally whiff on this Clemson. Luckily, he's just sailing in straight lines. And that's a player, too. Don't sail in straight lines, people. Yeah, I mean, you know, should you pick up the Hawkins? Yeah, actually, I think you should. The Hawkins is going on my short list of ships that I want to play a few more times, just in my personal spare time. I've always gotten a kick out of the Omaha, but I do, you know, get annoyed at the fact that you make one little mistake and you don't see somebody across the map and you just explode from 3 citadels from 13 kilometers out. And I don't think that would happen as much with the Hawkins, just looking at the way the armor layout is. I mean, of course it could happen. Certainly battleships and plunging fire, you know, you're definitely not invincible. But it's got that kind of classic, like, heavy cruiser profile. I don't know if it actually is a heavy cruiser, but, like, it has that feeling to me. Pretty good range on the guns. Again, especially for tier 5. Shell velocity is totally acceptable. Dispersion is okay, you know. But really the notable things to me about this ship are the high alpha, the 3050 alpha on the HE, and the extra armor, the 38 and 51 millimeter armor that wraps all the way up around the bow and the stern. I just think that's really useful, especially at these lower tiers. And yeah, I mean, I'm now up to 76,000 damage. And really only one of that, you know, only a small amount of that is torpedoes, one torpedo hit. Hydro is really nice at these levels, especially because, you know, a major threat is bots torping you. And so having Hydro up just to warn you if they're coming is super duper useful. This Congo is actually going to get away, which is frustrating. But, I mean, this game's over, right? You know, if for no other reason than that, I just can't see them getting any of these caps. But, yeah, I mean, I'm now up to 86,000 damage. I mean, that's pretty good for tier 5. I mean, granted, this is good matchmaker, right? I'm up tiered, right? So sorry, I'm not up tiered, right? This is a tier 4 and 5 match, which helps immensely, admittedly. And there's no aircraft carrier and there's no submarines, so this is a dream scenario, which is probably why it was a really fun game. But even still, I mean, you know, there are tier 5 cruisers that cannot make the most of this situation, and this one can. Would I love a heal? Would I love some smoke? Yeah, of course, but then the ship would be pretty OP, and you don't get those kind of things at tier 5, you know, basically, anyway. This Congo, I don't know. I guess this makes sense. I mean, he doesn't want to throw his ship away, and I get that. But, I mean, come on, buddy. This game's sort of over, you know? Like, you don't get a prize for getting to the end of the game. It's funny, I was just in the last video making the strong comment or advice that you want to avoid dying. But I think this is kind of the exception to that. I mean, as the game marches on, and, you know, we're now in the 10th minute, you know, at some point when you realize that the game is either a guaranteed win or a guaranteed loss, I mean, again, you have to be careful, but I think it's okay to, like, have a little fun and pad your stats. And, you know, I almost think this sort of thing is, I mean, it's not very useful. Like, there's no way this Congo on 7.4K is gonna win this game, right? It's just not gonna happen. So hiding behind this rock is just, I don't know. I'd almost rather head back to port, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not thinking about it the right way. I mean, he's entitled to play in a way that he thinks maximizes his chance of winning the game. I just think he's fooling himself. Okay, so here we go. Duel against this tier 5 German battleship, König. Who's gonna win? You got me on 20k health. You got him on almost full health. Of course, I'm getting a little help from this Nicholas, who's shooting at him with his destroyer guns. So can't count that out. He did light him on fire, so that helps me for sure. You might want to ask yourself, you know, you can even pause the video and ask yourself, what would you do? Like, would you go for the ram? Would you shoot at his midsection? Would you shoot at his bow? Would you try and use the torpedoes? I think that König does a pretty good job here, but he's going to make one critical error, and it's right here. I think this is a mistake. I think this is a mistake because really the main tool I have to do any serious damage to him is my torpedoes. And if he had gone behind that island, I literally could not have gotten him with the torpedoes. I can't do much damage to him. Granted, I should not be on the AP. That's a brain fart, right? But even with the HE, I'm just not going to do that much damage to him. Now, the interesting thing, and this is why I looked up the armor, you saw I took point blank shells from him, and he did finally get me, right? But I got him as well. I took at least one full salvo at like point blank range, right? Less than a kilometer range. And I lived. And I think that comes down to that 38 and 51 millimeter armor belt. Like, I had just enough angling to keep those shells from citadeling me. And they did damage, but, you know, not enough. Anyway, my second E badge on the channel, 121,000 damage, 4 kills. Admittedly, some of it against bots. But 1,600, 1,700 XP. Pretty fun. I do like the Hawkins. See you guys in the next video.